the webinar series on nutrition for the newborn and beyond. World Breastfeeding Week is celebrated every year from 1st to 7th August to encourage breastfeeding and improve the health of babies around the world. It commemorates the Innocenti Declaration signed in August 1990 by government policymakers, WHO, UNICEF, and other organizations to protect, promote, and support breastfeeding. WHO in 2002 recommended exclusive breastfeeding for 6 months. After 6 months, the infant can comfortably handle cereal-based food. Today, we are very fortunate to have with us two eminent speakers. I'm extremely happy to welcome them. Dr. Batmini Balagopal, registered dietitian, certified diabetic educator, international board certified lactation consultant, project leader, and community wellness program trainer. She's going to talk on guidelines to start complementary feeding. Ms. Jayashree Jayakrishnan, certified lactation consultant, member of Breastfeeding Promotion Network of India, ambassador for menstrual hygiene, and founder and director of Happy Mom. She is going to enlighten us on golden hour and beyond. I'm so happy to welcome you both. I'm extremely happy to welcome all the participants. Now over to Dr. Bhavani to introduce Jayashree.
Bhavani ma'am, sorry to interrupt. Bhavani ma'am, kindly unmute ma'am. We're not able to hear. Yes, sorry. Yes, ma'am, you're audible ma'am.
Sorry. Okay. Good evening. I'm very happy to introduce our first speaker for today, Dr. Jayashree Jayakrishnan, a young and dynamic personality who is going to speak on the very important phase of the newborn, golden hour and beyond. Dr. Jayashree is a qualified physiotherapist working in the field of women's health and maternity wellness for the past 12 years. She is an international board certified lactation consultant and central committee member of Breastfeeding Network of India. She is an ambassador for menstrual hygiene from Ecofarm. She is the founder and director of Happy Mom Pregnancy to Motherhood, which strives on bringing the awareness on maternal rights in childbirth and breastfeeding. Dr. Jayashree regularly conducts training and education programs for the aspirants who want to pursue lactation counseling and childbirth education. Dr. Jayashree is a recipient of MILC Care Award from International Lactation Consultant Association for setting up the best lactation supporting unit at the Neonatal Intensive Care Unit of Mehta Hospitals, Chennai. Ma'am, we congratulate you for being the first Indian to receive this award. Dr. Jayashree has presented papers in reputed platforms like International Lactation Consultant Association Canada, Continuing Medical Education authorized by American Medical Association, and many national and international journals. She has another feather to add to her cap. She is the first person to introduce Aqua Natal Fitness in Chennai. Ma'am, thank you for consenting to be with us today to deliver the talk on golden hour and beyond. Over to Dr. Jayashree.
Yeah. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, everyone, for giving a very nice introduction. I'll just start presenting now. Menaka, please help me if I go wrong.
Okay, ma'am. Okay, ma'am.
Is it okay?
No, ma'am, your screen is not visible.
Not visible. I can see.
Have you opened this PPT, ma'am?
Yes. I'll better open from my full screen. That will be better. you see now?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Okay. So golden hour and breastfeeding. So this is a topic was given today. It's quite an what to say, a practical topic which we tend to do on a regular basis. But there are certain categories to be done for that. So I am quite happy to tell my personal experiences in this part. So as Bhavani ma'am had given my portfolio completely, I don't want to take some more time on it. So breastfeeding has been happening throughout this week, everywhere. It's been breastfeeding overflowing everywhere, I should say. A lot of webinar talks has been keep on flowing altogether. I feel even when I type, it's coming as breastfeeding for me sometimes. So much of information in air. So it's actually very happy to see this year breastfeeding getting more digital and more connected and more wide areas being covered actually. So what is this first hour of life when you're going to give the feed? Immediately after the baby is born, the time the baby is being born, immediately we have to keep the baby onto the breast and let the baby to suckle onto the breast only. We say yes, first hour of life is associated with prolonged duration of breastfeeding and reduction in infant mortality. So this first hour of life, what the baby is going to latch now is very crucial. Okay, so as the mother has a very long labor, the baby also goes through the same kind of labor process. So many times, no, once a baby is born, that initial first few hours only they will be quite active and alert. After some point of time, both mother and baby will be completely exhaustible. They want to take a longer nap. So having this first hour of feed is very crucial for all babies. So provision of this mother's breast milk to infant within 1 hour of time only, we say as early initiation of breastfeeding. Now for one step ahead, now they have started to say you have to breastfeed within half an hour of childbirth. So they kept, yeah.
Jayashree ma'am, 1 minute. Ma'am, could you please present the slides, ma'am?
It's not clear?
It's not visible, ma'am. It's not visible.
Can you see?
Ma'am, could you please present it again, ma'am?
1 second.
You can go out, pull out your slides.
1 second. Can you see this?
No, you have to pull out your slides first. Stop sharing, come out, and then what you can do is press this present now, and instead of entire screen, you press a window.
Okay.
And after pressing the window, you can see your PowerPoint presentation.
No, I don't see it.
Yeah, once you press the window, you can see this.
Yeah.
Window.
Yes.
Yeah. Now you can press.
Now is it okay?
Yeah, it's opening now.
Yes, sir. Yes,
Okay.
ma'am. Yes.
Now it's fine.
Is this way is okay, or you want to have a full screen?
Full screen is also fine.
Fine. So this early initiation of breastfeeding, earlier it was said to be breastfed within 1 hour of baby's life. Now they have gone with another step ahead of feeding within half an hour of post childbirth. You have to feed the baby, so which ensures the infant receives the complete colostrum, the first feed, the first milk, which is rich in highly immunized, full of immunoglobulins, contain protective factors, contain growth factors, contain milk. The baby will attain in its first kind of immunization what the baby is going to attain within that 1 hour of its birth time. So how does World Health Organization has given its statement is you have to start with early initiation within a half an hour after childbirth or even 1 hour within childbirth, and you have to continue exclusive breastfeeding for 6 months of life. So exclusive means you're not supposed to give a drop of water or anything. Other than that, if any medication is being prescribed by your pediatrician, you can go ahead. Otherwise, there's no any other pre-lactal feeds, we say you shouldn't go with that. And along with the breastfeeding, after 6 months you have to go with your complementary feeding for 2 years above. This extended breastfeeding has gone really very high because of social media promotion. I could see for the last 5 years. Many mothers have started to breastfeed for 3 years, 4 years. One of my known pediatrician colleague, she has breastfed her first kid for 7 years, second kid for 6 years. So it's amazing. So it's like going back to our ancestors period where they used to feed the kids for 5 years and then they're letting the kids to go to school. It's like getting along like that. The mothers are getting very strong nowadays to go along with their own rights of going with the breastfeeding. So how is this infant mortality rate is there happening in India? So generally in India, about 1.2 million children within 0 to 15 months tend to die early. So this estimated of 58% of deaths usually occur during the neonatal period. There was a study conducted among India, Ghana and Nepal where they found that early initiation of breastfeeding actually lower the risk of neonatal mortality about 44%. There's another study which had compared the infants who initiated breastfeeding within first hour of life and along with the babies who've been initiated breastfeeding between 2 to 23 hours of life. I could see some blinking happening in my system. Do you find the same or it's clear for you all?
It's clear, mom.
Clear?
It's clear. It's clear, mom.
Okay, it's blinking for me. Okay, it's 2 and 23 hours or more. They have been having these two studies where they found the babies who've been fed in 2 hours after birth, there's a 41% higher in rate of risk factors compared to these babies who've been breastfed in 23 hours, 79% higher among those initiated within 24 to 96 hours of birth. So what the ultimate thing is, the mothers who've been supported to initiate breastfeeding within 1 hour of delivery seems to have proven high impact of neonatal survival compared to later breastfeeding timing. So where do we stand in our breastfeeding rates? So India actually among 76 countries, WHO had did a study and that India ranks about 56th place. Only 44.6% of newborns are being breastfed within 1 hour of birth. So in that case, if we say means out of 5 newborns, only 2 are being breastfed within first hour of life. The rest are being missing this golden hour. So golden hour, why it has been placed is now I feel the word of golden hour is more sensible as the gold rate also is going right. Earlier I was thinking they should keep diamond hour or platinum hour. It's so precious. You can't even say how precious it is. You can't get that milk because that milk is designed only specifically for that baby. It's only that mother can do that milk for that baby because the milk is so dynamic. If a baby is born in 29 weeks, 35 weeks, 37, 40, 42 weeks, which we say as preterm, term, late term, or post-term babies, the milk is so dynamic according to the mother's gestational age. The milk composition actually changes. It's not the same at all. So the first milk what the baby is going to attain also is so dynamic. It's not similar at all. So what does the benefit happen when you keep the baby immediately onto the breast? So once a baby is born, they actually wrap it with a warm cloth. This warm cloth, now we are trying to start to say to all our mothers to use their own cloth which they've been using to in the daily activities like wiping the face like that, because we tend to believe these microbiomes tend to carry from the mother to the baby. So I was actually in a myth earlier days, like why they are using all old clothings for the baby. It's all complete myth, I was thinking. But recent days of microbiome studies from the Western world, it actually gives us the meaning what our ancestors been doing. Generally in our families, no, when a newborn is born, they tend to take clothings of some other baby in our family itself, or sometimes the mother or mother-in-law used to keep their sons dresses so safely so that they could wear it for the grandkid. So that makes so much sense to carry the microbiomes within the community. Each community, each family has a set of good microbiomes, good bacteria, which has to be passed over generation to generation. So I always prefer my clients to carry their own towels or sheets which they've been using, or even the saris, nice soft cotton saris, to wrap the baby. So obviously we are not exposing the baby to the hospital infections. Even though it's been autoclaved, still we want the baby to have the mother's own bacteria to be transferred to the baby. So wrap the baby with the warm blanket from the mother's side and place the baby immediately over the mother's stomach. So immediately what happens is there's a immediate production of adrenaline hormone in there, so that which interfere with oxytocin and the prolactin hormone. So what happens in the time of childbirth, there'll be a lot of stress. Some mothers tend to strain themselves, they tend to get exhausted, tired. So to bring them into a relaxed mode, because this milk production actually happens when this oxytocin, we say it as love hormone, starts to produce in your body, automatically you tend to get more relaxed. The ejection reflex happens. Oxytocin plays a role in childbirth as well as it plays a role in breastfeeding also. So it's two in role. It actually plays two roles at the same time. So this hormone, when it's been super relaxed, automatically the prolactin hormone has been triggered. The mother gets into a very relaxed mode, and immediately once the baby being earlier fed from mother and baby attachment starts to happen, when the baby starts to suckle on the breast, that is on the nipple, you can see that expulsion of placenta is also happening more easily and quickly. The reason, as I already said, the oxytocin hormone has a dual function. It helps in the uterus compression at the time of childbirth. At the same time, it helps in the compression of the milk ducts to eject the milk out. So feeding the baby immediately after delivery, it's more advantageous for the practitioners, the gynec or obstetrician who's helping the mother during childbirth. They find it easier to handle the mother, because the mother can reduce the risk of postpartum hemorrhage. There's an easy expulsion of placenta. There's no need of doing manual extraction of placenta, which is actually painful than the easily expulsion of this placenta coming on its own. And when this first milk is being fed, the baby is the baby's chances of going with low blood sugar level, that is hypoglycemia, chances are very less. Most of the time, current scenarios, out of 5 mothers, at least one mother are getting into this gestational diabetes. Once you are getting into this gestational diabetes ratio, what happens is, it's by default as a protocol, it comes in some hospitals that they need to check the baby's sugar level, whether it's maintaining or dropping, by doing a blood test like 6-hour interval. But when this early bonding is being introduced, obviously the baby's sugar level also is being maintained continuously. So the babies doesn't lose their sugar level to drop down. And newborn babies can produce glucose from their own body stores, which they, body stores, which they actually use it for their energy till they start to feed really well. Many mothers tend to have this complaint. Immediately after my delivery, I don't see milk coming out. I don't find it anything. Baby, I'm very suspectful, like whether my baby is receiving the milk or not. But actually this milk, what they are going to have it comes in very minute quantity, not required that has to be seen in lay eyes. But when the baby suckles, it comes in very minute quantity, which the baby will be taking it on its own. And it's been so beautifully designed. The baby's stomach size is so small. Milk also comes in a minute quantity, but contrary, the baby will be feeding for a longer time. So it's being so well designed. The baby reflex, which makes the mother to keep the baby feeding automatically, which helps her to build up a milk supply for the following days. But when this initial contact has been missed, always the mother is doubtful on her potential of lactating, whether she's lactating enough, whether my baby knows to suck. And also, as I said about this birth kind of trauma and post-delivery, the tiredness and exhaustion, which led to have a very longer gap after the delivery, where they can't immediately continue with the breastfeeding also. So once the babies are born, they are in a very complete sterile environment, the uterus, and obviously their bacteria which they have been having it inside the womb, it's all mother's bacteria. So all the mother's bacteria have already been exposed to the baby. So they can kickstart their own immune system to fight off these infections and protect from the diseases in future. in COVID situation also, we are seeing this no vertical transmission of COVID happening from mother to baby is happening. So it shows that the baby is able to build its own immune system in the womb itself. So mother gives that immunity in the womb itself. It's so beautifully designed. Even if the baby is being born with COVID positive, also if when the baby is being breastfed for next 2 days, the baby seems to be showing up to be negative in its results. That's what many of our hospitals are saying. We haven't done anything. The baby was in complete exclusive breastfeeding. It has come out on its own because it has already been used to the immune system inside the womb. And on top of it, when the breastfeeding is also being continued, the result seems to be amazing. So what are the research have been indicating is, when the babies aren't being given the opportunity to get exposed to mother's bacteria, that is with the babies which are born vaginally. So most of the time, this one concept is that only babies who are born vaginally will have a skin to skin contact. We can have an immediate bonding with the mother. You can do early initiation of breastfeeding. No, not at all. Even the mother who goes with the emergency C-section or elective C-section, if the baby is stable, the baby doesn't have any form of respiratory distress, the baby seems to be stable, means the baby can be put onto the breast immediately in the labor theater itself, on the table itself, they can let the baby to breastfeed. So this one concept in one hospital, they used to give badges for the nurses. So whichever nurses puts a baby immediately onto the breast, the nurse will get a badge. It's like a bonding nurse. It's like a kind of a badge for the nurse to recognize that she had helped the mother to do her initial skin to skin contact, initial first hour of feed. It's not been missed. That's actually motivating the whole healthcare system to get along with this immediate bonding of mother and baby within first hour of life. So breast crawl, it's actually, you need to have patience to see breast crawl in real labor, because once the labor is done, everyone will be in a hurry. Okay, fine, finished off, shift the mother to the room, let the baby go to the room, like that. But breast crawl, no, once you put the baby onto the breast, the baby itself will start to like move towards the breast, towards the nipple and areola, and starts to latch. It will literally take about 1 hour to 1.5 hours, differs baby to baby. So this is actually highly possible for the mothers who are waiting for the time for the placenta to expel on its own. So you have such amount of time for the baby to root onto the breast. And breast crawl, earlier days, it's been shown, even the video what I'm going to show you now also, it's shown as if they are cutting the cord and putting the baby onto the breast. But actually, instead of cutting the cord, please put the baby onto the breast with the cord intact with the placenta without clamping the cord. Is still more beneficial than clamping the cord. So let me show you the video before I go ahead with the next one.
We cannot, please present the thing. No, we can see you only, not the slide.
No, I'm going to show a
Jayashree?
video.
Okay.
Can you see the video?
No, ma'am.
No, huh?
I'm not able to see the video. Only the audio will be here.
Can you see the screen?
No, ma'am. The PPT is only seeing the screen, ma'am.
One second.
No, again, you have to stop sharing, come back, and
I
again
know.
go back to your
I have to
video.
come back and then I have to go back. That's what I'm doing. It's not. I'm not able to share. I have to share my entire screen, I think.
I think
Can you see now? Can you see the video?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
UNICEF, WHO, and WAWA, along with the scientific community, strongly recommends initiating breastfeeding within hour of birth. Evidence shows that early initiation can prevent 22% of all deaths among babies below 1 month in developing countries. Yet, no specific method of initiation of breastfeeding has been widely recommended by the scientific community. In the current scenario, where high rates of undernutrition in young children is prevalent, which is 46% in India, according to NHS3, coupled with high morbidity and mortality. We in Maharashtra felt a dire need to identify evidence-based workable method which is easy, replicable, and cost-effective. It is also known that like the young ones of animals, even human babies can initiate breastfeeding on their own, provided they are kept between mother's breasts. This is known as breast crawl. Government of Maharashtra, Nutrition Mission, ICDS and BPNI Maharashtra, jointly with UNICEF, has initiated an ambitious program to train government NGO functionaries in basics of infant and young child feeding. The miracle has moved one and all, from the grassroots health workers to the highest bureaucrats, and they have accepted it as the answer for early initiation. Soon after delivery and after the baby has cried and started breathing well, the baby is shown to the mother and kept close to her with a cheek-to-cheek contact. This helps the mother to kiss the baby and also facilitates the local custom of saying a holy message in baby's ear. Subsequently, baby is kept prone in between the breasts. All care should be taken to prevent the baby from falling. If the weather is cold, then baby should be covered with a warm cloth. Baby is feeling alert soon after delivery and hence is at its instinctive best. Baby is also kept warm, being in close contact with the mother. Baby is also prevented from future infections because she starts acquiring healthy germs which will colonize her skin and intestines. Thus, this position ensures early instinctive stimulation and gives warmth, love, security, and also food. It also initiates bonding process between the baby and the mother. Kicks will give tender, firm jerks to the womb, stimulating it to contract. This will help to expel placenta and reduce bleeding. Once baby realizes that food is in close proximity, it starts salivating. Smell is a strong stimulus which drives the baby towards the nipple. Baby's smell sensation is well developed. Smell of a chemical on nipples is similar to the smell of a chemical in amniotic fluid which surrounds the baby in the womb. Mouthing movements start. Her shoulder, hip, and neck muscles are sufficiently developed to help her move. Baby with her limited vision can see the areola. If baby raises her head, it can also see mother's face. Baby has reached the nipple. nicely lashed in with wide open mouth and mouthful of breast. What a beautiful moment of joy for the mother and the child. This baby has reached the destination in just over 10 minutes. Majority of babies will successfully complete breastfeeding in about 30 to 60 minutes. Like all other gifts of nature, this comes free of cost. However, the health and nutrition benefits offered will save millions of lives and will save billions in terms of health cost. It will create a generation which will reach highest human potential of growth and development. We request you to carry this message to
Okay, so that was a very nice video for people who are seeing for the first time. I think you'll be like enjoying the video, but we've been seeing this for the last 10-12 years. Only thing, we have modified a lot in this video. So it's not like, as you see, the mother will be on a back lying down to labor. We do let the mother to deliver the way she wants. There are mothers who delivered on a stomach. So while they're delivering, like lying down, or the knees to chest position, that in both that position also they deliver on the side lying, or sometimes they stand and deliver like as if they're sitting in the western closet. So once they deliver, the father is the first person who holds the baby. So immediately he keeps the baby onto the mother's chest, where the father will be sitting behind, the mother will be sitting in front of him, and they'll be having the baby. So automatically they just keep the baby onto the breast and they start to do. So it's not the usual rule of keeping the mother has to be on the back and putting baby on the stomach and crawling. I find this to be more appropriate for a C-section mother compared for the mothers who are choosing for a vaginal birth or natural birth or water birth, whatever option they are. That position is actually different. And one more thing is not required of so many hands to touch the baby. It's only the father, mother is enough, and no need of so much of. I know there's a lot of joy and happiness when they saw the baby latching, but actually the environment has to be very quiet and calm. The bonding is so personal. It's so personal. The husband and wife with the baby, they literally feel as if they are in a different world. They start to cuddle the baby. They tend to kiss each other. They tend to kiss the baby. So these are very small moments which you cherish as many years to go. So not required to have so many assistants as you see in that video. And as I already pinpointed, the clamping of the cord was done. It's actually not required. You can put the baby immediately onto the breast and the placenta can expel on its own. So what is the government rules on this? There's something called Lakshya guidelines. The government of India has come up with this guidelines. According to the Lakshya guidelines, you have to give the rights of the mother, what she wants to have, a birth choice, a birth plan, and immediately she needs to have a skin-to-skin contact, and the placenta has to expel on its own. Till then, you shouldn't manually extract the placenta. So you have enough room for you, your birth attendant, that is your spouse, and the baby. You have enough room to have that privacy. So everyone should know about their rights to go forward towards the birthing and the post-delivery days. So as a healthcare support, how the healthcare support people can help this mother towards this journey is, first thing is we have to actually educate all the healthcare professionals. There are a lot of programs are happening. Anyone can join this IVSCF, Infant Young Feeding Specialist course. Now BPNI, Breastfeeding Promotion Network of India, has come up with lactation counselors course. Next, ALPI, all lactation professionals of India also have come up with their course, and UNICEF also have their own course. There are some Indian universities doing a lactation counselor certification course. So you can pursue a career. I feel this as an add-on skill for the profession. but along with their professional qualification, this has to be added. So the scope of practice obviously get along with the basic qualification. So they have to be trained, and kind of, as I already told you, they can be termed like a bonding angel, lactation counselor, for immediately initiating the breastfeeding after the baby is born. And they need to have a proper record whether they have early initiation of breastfeeding done or not. As I had already mentioned, Lakshya guidelines. Now Lakshya guidelines have been strictly followed in government hospitals. If you go to Tamil Nadu Institute of Obs and Gynecology, rather if you say Egmore Maternity Hospital, no, they follow these guidelines properly. They have a record whether they've done immediate skin to skin contact, whether they've done immediate breastfeeding happened or not. They tend to maintain all this record. Hopefully this also gets expanded to all private organization in maybe expected in another 1 or 2 years time, I'm hopefully. So this will be a norm for everyone. So it's not going to be a new thing to be told to anyone. And all nursing staff and doctors in delivery rooms needs to be trained in providing practical support of early initiation of breastfeeding. This one thing, no, I feel that unless you tend to practice, you tend to do it. When you tell to others, you tend to give your full effort into it. But when you don't have that kind of scope, we always think maybe it's not possible, maybe it will not work. It's not so much important. So I feel all nursing staffs and doctors, first they themselves will have that full initiation of breastfeeding and exclusive breastfeeding. When they have that experience, obviously that will be passing over to the mothers also. So you have to get a feedback from the mothers at the time of discharge, like how you've been helped during the time of delivery, where you're comfortable, did you have that immediate bonding, did you establish the breastfeeding at the time of discharge. All mothers needs to be taught on exclusive breastfeeding pattern. They need to be taught on manual expression of breast milk, and there are breastfeeding support groups being opened inside the hospital itself, where they can get connected with the pediatrician or gynec or lactation support professionals, so that it's been in-house itself, they've been continuously supported. So these things are coming up really very well in urban sectors. But in rural sectors, these Anganwadi workers, VHN, are doing fantastic work. Recently, as I was about to talk with them, they do have an app in interacting with them. So they are much more organized than the urban sectors only, I felt. So coming for the mother and birth attender support, it's not only the medical team support. There should be a support from the client side, that is from the mother side also we need support. First of all, during the pregnancy, even pre-pregnancy, during your college days itself, you should know what is breastfeeding, how to hold the baby, why you should breastfeed. All this informed decision making should be known to the mother, not only to the mother, the spouse. It's not only the mother's role. Obviously, the father also needs to know it. It's both together, and along with the family members, everyone should know this. And once they know the rights, they have to tell what they decide to the practitioner at the time of birth. As they write for the birth plan, they have to write about the breastfeeding plan also. So everyone knows what's the plan, what they are going to do immediately after breastfeeding. They can be counseled regarding to it. And the birth assistant should be taught on how to help the mother at the time of delivery, post-delivery, how they could help the mother at the time of breastfeeding and all. They need to be guided and supported. It's not like one-time job. Our breastfeeding support groups are always active. If I leave one night, the next day you can see 80 messages filled with my WhatsApp group. So it's a continuous support. I feel mothers do a fantastic work than the professionals. So we leave it to the mothers to counsel within each other. And obviously there's a teamwork is there. It's not only the mother, from the healthcare professionals, mother, birth attendant. When everyone works as a team only, there's a success. There's no individual success at all. No one can take a credit like I did it, everything, that's why I got. No, it has to be a team effort. When there's a team effort, obviously the giver as well as the receiver will be happy. So it has to be a community support as a whole, not only the family alone. Community, as I mean, they should be feeling secured once they come back up. to the job. I have my 6 months maternity leave. I have the security that I can get back to my work. I don't have financial pressure. I don't have economical thing. So these kind of things has to be given from the community side only. So when all things come together, obviously breastfeeding rates will go really high in India. There's no doubt into it. So I think I've gone 10 minutes past my given time. Thank you all for giving this opportunity, and I need to thank my chief, my mentor. She still mends me. I am always be fortunate to have a guru like that. I always have that fear of being with her, like she guides me, this is right, this is wrong, this is not the way you should. So I'm happy to have her, and this is my website and my Insta name, Jayashree Jayakrishnan. You can connect with me anytime, and we do have informative videos, live talks happening in our Insta on a regular manner. Thank you all.
Thank you, Jayashree, for the wonderful talk presentation.
Thank you,
And
ma'am.
we shall have the question answer session after Dr. Padmini finishes her talk.
Sure.
Now we are going to have the second talk for the day. Yeah. Thank you, ma'am. I'm honored to introduce Dr. Padmini for this evening. Dr. Padmini is a successful, resourceful, skilled, and talented personality, being a registered dietitian, diabetes educator, international board certified lactation consultant, project leader, community wellness program trainer, writer, author, and a speaker. Dr. Padmini's credentials enabled her to take up assignments in administration, research, clinical nutrition, and diverse challenging tasks in US and India. Presently, actually, I have a long list of things to speak about her. For want of time, I'm not able to do that. And presently, she is an online counselor in clinical nutrition, offering consultation on breastfeeding, diabetes, weight management, and wellness nutrition. Ma'am, we are all eager to listen to your talk on guidelines to start complementary feeding. Over to Dr. Padmini, ma'am.
So much. Am I on? Can you see me? Can you,
No. Ma'am, your audio is not clear, ma'am. Kindly mute your audio.
present now your entire screen. Allow. Can you see me now? Okay. I presume you can see me. Now I'm trying to bring my screen up. Can you see my screen?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. I am so grateful to the IFTR and Nutrition Society of India, my dear friend Sharifa Talha, who, along with her colleagues, has arranged this very important get-together, because breastfeeding is where it all starts. Health for the future, in the future for the person who develops into an adult would probably be dictated by the kind of feeding he or she got soon after birth. And Jayashree, Dr. Jayashree Jayakrishnan has touched very well on the importance of breastfeeding soon after birth. This sets the stage for the baby to be exclusively breastfed. It is very important now. The WHO and pediatricians have realized that moment, that's why they call it the golden hour. It's very important to set the pace for breastfeeding to continue. Why? What is the ideal nutrition for your baby for the first year after birth? Welcome, and I welcome your questions and your experiences at the end of the section. But breast milk is the most suitable food for your baby. Nothing else compares with it. If anyone tells you when you're pregnant, you can do either this or that, breastfeeding or artificial baby milk, no, it is not comparing apples and apples. It is so much different so much better. Breastfeed milk is the most suitable food for your baby. Why? Because breast milk, as Dr. Jayashree said, it is tailor-made, like your shirt is made to your size, or like your choli is made to your size, like your kurta is made to your size. It is tailor-made to suit your baby's needs. For example, she also mentioned when a baby is born premature, that milk immediately changes. Nature is so clever. It will change the milk to suit that premature baby so that the baby, little baby whose organs are not fully developed can digest that milk and grow and thrive. So this is how, and do catch-up growth. So that is why your breast milk is called a dynamic fluid. It changes from hour to hour, minute to minute, and maybe the milk will be suitable for the baby in the morning, different in the afternoon. We will never know, but the baby thrives with breast milk. Breastfeeding has many immediate benefits for baby as well as mother, but did you know that breastfeeding gives added benefits to the family and to society as well? Let us see why. How? Being a complete food, the breast milk has a wide variety of immunological benefits that help your baby against infections. Ear infection, for example, diarrhea, NICU, in the most vulnerable stage of a person's life is soon after birth, and breast milk protects. It's like an umbrella over that baby. It also, breastfeeding gives the baby emotional, psychological, and physiological benefits. They are less prone to ear infections like otitis media. Breastfed babies have normal stools. We have often heard a mother who has introduced formula to the baby say, as soon as I brought the formula in, my baby got constipated. Your breast milk has a special laxative. The mother's breast milk has a laxative built in so that the baby will have normal stools. And as I mentioned, if the baby is preterm, the milk becomes higher in protein and more digestible to allow for quicker catch-up growth. Mortality. We hear so much about infant mortality. This is lower at all ages for breastfed infants. What is morbidity? Frequent sicknesses. They also have been fewer and fewer infections when the baby is completely and exclusively breastfed for the first 6 months. You know, asthma, respiratory illnesses are on the rise with so much pollution. A study found that babies who are breastfed are less likely to have these respiratory illnesses. Also, there's a condition, a sad condition called SIDS, sudden infant death syndrome, when the infant dies without any visible cause. And it is found that breastfeeding reduces this markedly. Also, that the breastfed baby is in the driver's seat. The baby is driving the car. The baby will decide when to eat, how much to eat, and will come away when the baby is satisfied. It is not as if a bottle is being thrust into the baby's mouth and the baby is forced to drink. The baby will want to eat and will come to latch when the baby is hungry. This has made the baby visually, the vision sharper, because the baby will have to identify the nipple, the breast, and latch on. Also, psychomotor development, this is also improved, and they attribute it to something special in breast milk called docosahexaenoic acid. It's an omega-3 fatty acid, and that is now being added to many artificial milks because mothers have found and doctors have found such a marked benefit from this that isn't present in mother's milk. Also, this same fatty acid has been attributed to the baby is having a higher IQ, 10 to 15 point higher IQ in some studies that they found. Here's a breastfeeding baby. And how long should the baby be exclusively breastfed? Well, WHO, UNICEF, and the medical profession recommend 6 months of exclusive breastfeeding. I'm going to show you a little video that shows when the baby is ready to eat, then the baby is so willing to try foods. But the first 6 months, it has been found that breast milk alone can meet the baby's needs. This has many advantages, and one of which is that the baby thrives and grows under very good conditions. Remember that the baby is self-regulating. He or she will want to come and eat, want to come away when they've had enough. These babies are self-assured and psychologically contented also. Breastfeeding your baby for the first 2 years at least is optimal, but mother and baby can decide how much longer. But how about exclusive breastfeeding? How long can that go? When the baby is around 6 months of age, it has been found that it is very necessary to bring additional foods into the diet, along with breast milk, not to replace breastfeeding, but along with breast milk. That's when we start a little kanji, a little cereal, and that's why I'm talking about complementary foods. These complement the whole diet of breastfeeding. Around 6 months of age is when it started. It is recommended that the first foods introduced to the baby be hypoallergenic, like rice cereal, but also make sure that there's a 1 week gap between introducing new foods. In our anxiety to introduce a lot of foods, it is not wise to feed the baby wheat cereal today for the first time, then rice cereal tomorrow for the first time. It does not give the baby's gut enough time to adjust to this new food. Remember that gut was a sterile as long as the baby was the baby is used to external foods. So we allow the baby a full week to adjust to a new food and then start the next food. Following the guidelines of a balanced diet, introducing foods from all food groups will ensure that this baby has a healthy diet, but also a healthy eating lifestyle. I'm digressing because I find that many babies today are not eating vegetables as much, not eating fruits as much, because they've not been used to that. They've been introduced to more carbohydrates, idli, dosa. All these are very good foods, but complement them with vegetables, complement them with fruits. Remember, when the baby is young and you're boiling the vegetables and pureeing them in a blender and giving it to the baby because the baby has no teeth, no salt or sugar, very little salt if you think so, but no sugar at all should be added. As the baby grows older, allow the baby to touch and feel the foods. Remember to introduce a healthful diet with baked, boiled, and pureed foods around 6 months, and progress to finger foods as the baby grows teeth, develops dexterity in holding the fingers, holding the foods, and the ability to chew and swallow. Each and every baby sets his or her own pace. Some babies are ahead, some babies take their own time, but follow the cues that your baby is expressing. Foods like grapes, hot dogs, hard pieces of meat should be avoided as they have the potential to choke. Your baby does not have 32 teeth yet. And so to chew and swallow and to expect the baby to chew and swallow is a very high expectation and can result in the baby potential to choke. I'm going to come to the end of this webinar because of time, but I would like the organizers to help me show this video that I have prepared, that I got from Global Healthpedia. I would like to acknowledge them It's a video. How may I show this video? Can anyone help me with that?
Padmini ma'am, kindly close the slide, ma'am. Again, present it, ma'am.
Here is the video. Here it is. Now, if I show it, can you see it? Can you see it?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So this is where it is. And very interactive. After breastfeeding or in between, opens the mouth and roots. It's
We cannot see the video. Menaka, can you do something?
Ma'am, you just have to pin the screen, ma'am. Video scene, ma'am. Video scene.
Can you see it?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. See, the audio is not clear, ma'am.
It's not very clear. After that, you try these foods. Now, this
Padmini ma'am, could you use the computer audio, ma'am? System audio?
that is not such a wise thing to overfeed the baby. See, the baby is not showing an interest to latch on because the baby has already been fed. Now, this baby has been fed both breast milk and foods, complementary foods, and is growing very well, healthy, and interactive. They are anxious at this point to handle foods. Here he is being breastfed, but they're interested in handling foods, in the different textures, in realizing that there's something new coming into the mouth, receptive about the new foods. That's when it is a successful introduction. This talks about the culture. Some cultures think that boys need more milk than girls, and that is not true. Boys need as much, and girls need as much milk as boys. So they should not be fed anything less than what they want to eat. This is breastfeeding, and after breastfeeding, when the family is eating, it's time to let the baby participate in family meal times, and they will watch people eating and they will try and mimic. Here the baby is ready to eat. This is an older baby, and the father is now going to come and show us. This is the mother feeding this baby, and the next video you will see is the father washing the hands for them and showing the baby how to wash the hands. And the baby is so receptive to kanji. Here the baby is eating vegetables. This is why I like this video a lot, because the baby is getting exposed to different foods, not just cereal all the time. A little vegetable now, a little fruit in the afternoon, and a variety of foods is very important. I would like to show you a video where the father is so anxious to feed his baby and participates. Now, this is something I need to caution you about. This baby is not hungry, does not want to eat, that's when complementary foods, you introduce the baby when the baby is ready to eat, not force feed the baby, either breast milk or formula or food. That's a hungry baby. That's a baby that is showing an interest to eat. That's when the whole eating experience becomes a very positive experience and not a negative crying experience. Should not be. There's an enthusiasm in the baby eating this food. This is how a healthy relationship between eating and growing is established. With this, I come to the end of my presentation. I'm very grateful to Global Health Media for this video, and we're both open to questions. Can you hear me?
Shobana?
We're open to any questions. Jayashree and I would be happy to answer or listen to experience or issue. I think someone is muted.
Shobana, you can start now.
Ma'am, I have a question to Dr. Jayashree.
Yeah.
Can I go ahead, ma'am?
Yes, please.
Yeah.
Yes, please.
You're telling
Yes.
that the first hour after delivery is very, very important to feed the baby because of cholesterol, etc., etc. But considering the practical scenario, is it possible to put the baby on within that precious time, ma'am? Because in a very this state of state and all that. No, I was just trying to find out whether you need to have a special expert to look into that aspect. Otherwise, considering the normal delivery, no, I was not able to really find much this thing on it.
Yeah, ma'am, I'll answer you, because initial days when we started it, we had initial hiccups, like always doubting on our ability. Main thing is we have the ability to do it, but we tend to doubt on our own ability whether we can do it or not. But babies who've been born healthier, that is, they cry immediately without any other distress happening, we immediately put the baby onto the breast. And as of now, as I said, the Lakshya guidelines on making the placenta to expel on its own. With this guidelines, obviously everyone has to wait for the placenta to expel. So during that period, the baby will be on the breast. So government also is working along to it. The numbers are not huge compared to earlier days. It's actually picking up slowly, but it's highly possible.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. Thank you.
I also add, the mother expectant stage, be programmed as educated on getting the baby onto her breast. The way they were expectant, they're expecting the baby to get on. That helps a lot.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
I can see questions in the chat box.
Yeah. Ma'am.
Shobana asked.
Yes, ma'am. Yeah. Ma'am, there is one question to Dr. Jayashree. They've asked the links to join the lactation consultancy courses, ma'am.
Yeah, I've actually typed it. You have IBC, that is an international board, where I got mentors from Dr. Padmini. So she's the one who's the first lactation consultant in India, I should say, to start with the clinic also. So she was first person years back. Other than that, we have ALPI, All Lactation Professionals of India, is also providing a course. BPNI, Breastfeeding Promotion Network of India, also is providing a course. And there's a university in Mumbai. I'm not very sure. I'll have to check it. It's an Indian university providing certification for lactation courses.
Okay. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. And one more question from Gomati. She said that she is blessed with twin baby girls. Congrats. And her younger baby doesn't nurture from her, it seems. And she also said she doesn't have enough breast milk, so she started to use formula milk. So she wants a solution for this. Ma'am, do you get my question? Am I audible?
Yeah, Padmini ma'am, you want to try?
Sure. Why don't you handle it and I'll.
No.
Well, if is injecting the milk, this is when it's so vital to get someone who's experienced, like Jayashree practices in Chennai. I don't know where she lives, but if she can consult,
Yeah, it's breaking for me.
Your voice is
get the
breaking.
reason why the baby is rejecting the breast. No baby rejects a breast, but there could be a reason why, and a very valid reason the baby is rejected. So the handle at that point, and from that stage, he can become more breast friendly and start breastfeeding. Because there is why? Because there is a long psychological, the Deepa Santosh, I think her. So for them to get that, then the sucking at the breast, suck, swallow is a very good momentum that is initiating the breastfeeding and bringing it to a closure, driving and navigating himself or herself. This is a full learning process for the whole.
Your voice is breaking.
Lactation, the baby, if she know why it's not latching. Answer that question. There, or to add.
Shobana?
Yes, ma'am. Yeah, her voice is breaking. That's it. There are only few questions. On my behalf, I have one
I
question.
had a question. Can I come in?
Yeah, sure, ma'am. Sure, ma'am. Go
Hi.
ahead, ma'am. Yeah.
I just wanted to understand what is the influence of formula milk companies in India currently?
Okay.
To what extent are they able to influence pediatrics and mothers in terms of advertising? So can you throw some light on that?
Okay.
Yeah, I'll go with this. Actually, Deepa, things are getting more changed here now. IMS Act, Infant Milk Substitute Act, is getting very vigilant here. Anyone can see it and take a photograph and send an email. That's enough. Work is done. From Ministry of Health and Family Welfare, they'll get a notice. So recently, also one of the leading society, I don't want to mention the name, they got it. Their activity, small activity, it's not a big activity. Small one got sponsored from a nutrition company. Someone had sent it. They got a notice from Tamil Nadu Secretariat. So they immediately took it off. So I think technology, be vigilant still more. Of course, there's a long line to go. I feel from the community also we need that help, because all mothers, immediately when the baby cries, more than the mothers, people around her, oh, I think it's not enough. Why can't we ask the doctor for a formula? Even we have created a formula consent form in the hospital where I practice. I made it purposeful that they need to sign the consent. When I kept the consent form, there's always fighting comes the next day morning. Why they're giving consent form and all? It's so scary for us to see the consent form. That's the truth. If you want, still you want, you take it. But in spite of consent form, also they are taking up. So this shows more of family and community work has to be there, more, rather than only pinpointing of healthcare professionals. So I think we have improved a lot. For sure, we have improved a lot, but still long way to go. We are working on to it. Hopefully, we'll get that range.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Dr. Jayashree and Dr. Padmini, excellent presentation. I just have a question. I think I have posted, and
Yeah,
this is
Gauri,
about
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
visible.
actually, you had mentioned that there is a team of support available after delivery. But is there also a psychologist in the team? Because I feel mothers need a lot of moral support too.
What you're telling is right, Gauri ma'am. But if I say psychologist, no, the immediate taboo among the family members and everyone, no, oh, psychiatrist, no, 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 not that serious and all. That's the taboo still persisting. Only some are like openly coming up. I need support. I need help. And I feel this mothers group are doing wonderful job. They're doing wonderful job supporting each other. They don't know anyone in person, they don't know anyone in face, but someone posts like, I'm feeling down, this is what is happening in my family. They posted immediately, 10 mothers starts to chat, don't worry, I also went through. When always a group of ladies chats, no, there'll be always some confusion happening. That also happens in the group. But still, the end result seems to be good. The mother seems to be getting motivated. I feel this will go ahead in a future point of having the expert opinion also. Even though we have experts in our panel, people who are using it are very few. If we address itself, the taboo is still persisting.
Okay. And there's another thing that I wanted to just check with any of you. That is, immediately after, supposing a person has a C-section, they don't really see their baby for like 4-5 hours. And we normally say that the baby should be breastfed at, within an hour or something. So do you think it's going to affect the child's mortality or, any kind of suggestions?
See, this question you need multiple answers. Depends upon the gestational age, a week of pregnancy, baby's weight. All these things has to be taken into consideration. And if it's an emergency C-section where there's a thick meconium, baby had intaken meconium, or the baby is having a distress, where the baby has to be in observation, that is more priority than going with the breastfeeding. So the practical thing, we have to see whether the baby is fine, and mother also has to be fine. There are mothers who faint off while during childbirth happening, BP gets low, they tend to faint off and all. When things are fine, of course it's happening. Many of our C-section mothers who have exclusively breastfed from the time they had a C-section, but there are mothers who had natural birth, but they were not able to breastfeed. So I always believe mode of delivery is not a restriction for breastfeeding. It's only thing, how far they have been mentally prepared, team approach, and of course the situation at that point, what happens, everything goes in place.
All that,
still it's
Thank you so much for this information. As usual, I think every time we listen to you people, something new is, we learn something very new. Thank you so much.
I had a
Can I just
C-section.
add on to that? Just wanted to add on to that, what Jayashree said. Just want to say that in lactation training, counseling is also incorporated. So actually many lactation counselors, peer supporters, lactation consultants also include counseling as part of their role as well. So, it gets covered there too. Secondly, is there in sections, even on the table, skin to skin is possible. Like I said, unless and until it's a medical intervention is required, when things are fine, skin to skin is still facilitated right after.
No, I'm talking about my own personal experience, because I had a C-section, and I could not see my baby for like 4-5 hours. I was under anesthesia too. So that's the reason, I was just asking. I mean, being a nutritionist, I know what are the pros and cons, but just coming from lactation consultants' perspectives, I just wanted to know about it. Thank you so much.
I think it depends on the training. It depends on the training, how confident the person who is facilitating that, how confident are they able to enable that for you. So I do that regularly. So I know but yes, it is possible.
But the other point, Deepa, is that when the baby is born, and even if there's a 5-hour gap, that's okay. It's a golden hour can be after the 5th hour, as long as the mother is ready. That's when what
very true.
Absolutely, yeah.
That the point Jayashree is bringing up is that breastfeeding start when the mother is ready willing and able, and the baby is born. So give or take a few hours this way or that way. But what happens is after the first feed, being sleep 4 hours, that's a mistake. Every 1.5 hours, you have to bring the baby to the mother. She's got a C-section. She's not going to be able to turn this way or that. It's the nurse who's going to help to latch the baby every 1.5 hours for 1 or 2 days, when the mother is then got back and she can handle it herself. That has to happen. So the
Absolutely.
support.
Thank you so much.
Very.
Thank you very much, Dr.
Yeah.
Padmini and Jayashree, for the excellent presentation. Now may I request Dr. Shobana to propose formal
Yes,
vote
ma'am.
of thanks?
Yes, ma'am. Ma'am, as rightly pointed out by Dr. Gaudi, every time we are learning new things, there is only one more question. Shall I ask the question posted by Vino Viveka? May I?
Sure.
Yes. Ask and then
Yes.
you.
Yes, ma'am. There's a question she asked that once the mother started her lactation and stopped in between because of some reason, can she start relactation after some time? Do you get my question or shall I repeat?
Jay and I have
You have asked about relactation.
Yeah, relactation. Stopped and started the lactation but stopped in between, and if she wants to continue, start again. Hello?
Jay, that?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Jay, are you taking that? I think she cannot hear.
Your voice is breaking, ma'am.
Oh, how about
Hello?
Jay? You going to take that?
No, we can't hear you.
We
Okay,
can't
fine.
hear
I'll
you,
take
ma'am.
Fine. See, relactation, it's better to say like reinitiation of breastfeeding instead of relactation. All mothers can lactate. That's one thought. Another thing is, even if a mother is not going through a pregnancy also, we had found the success rate of showing this lactation coming as success for the mothers who are going through surrogacy program or adoption. Also, they have found it to be successful. So instead of relactation, I want to say reinitiation of breastfeeding. Yes, it is possible. I want to share one incident where the mother, like second child, where first child has been exclusively breastfed for 2 years. Second child, unfortunately, she had to go on with breast abscess and surgery, where because of improper guidance, she was given with medication to stop breastfeed. So when I met her, she was 5 months. She was having a 5 months old baby. So with 5 months old baby, we started with reinitiation of breastfeeding. Within 10 days of time, she called yesterday saying that I was able to see my milk coming out. So body has the ability to tune itself. So even mothers who are adopting, like they have a biological child, first child, second child, they are adopting by when they're 4 years or 5 years. The moment they start to feed the baby, the second baby, they start to lactate really well. So it's only thing we have to reinitiate the breastfeeding instead of saying of lactating.
Okay. Thank you, ma'am. Okay. Is there any other questions? No.
Can another mother provide breast milk for another baby? Yes, of course. There's a question. Can another mother provide breast milk for another baby? We have human milk banks are there, vet nursings are there. This year, COVID, WHO guidelines itself, they have given. So if a mother not able to breastfeed, of course, she can start with getting donor's breast milk or vet nursing they can do. So of course they can do, only certain guidelines they have to follow, because unknowingly if the mother is not well, they have to go with the hepatitis and HIV test. Everything is done. When all the medical things are being very clear, of course they can donate and even feed the other child.
Okay. And the one last question, one by Deepa Santosh. She asked, like, can the mother relactate a child after 1 year? As you said, reinitiate or relactate a child after 1 year.
After 1 year, yes. it all depends how the mother and baby are getting along with each other. So after seeing that only we have to say it. So it's really possible. Only thing they have to work on to it. It's not like 1 day job or 10 days time. You can't tell the time period. You can't say this stipulated time you can finish it, you can reach the target.
It's a mother who's adopting a baby can lactate. So it all takes a lot of time, patience, and
yeah, Padmini had I think 10 years back, she's the one who started this relactation one. She actually helped one of the counselors to do this. So, and she is now helping the other mothers to do it.
Oh, that
Very
mother
nice.
is doing how nice. Very nice.
Very nice. Okay. Shall we go to the formal vote of thanks?
Yes, sure.
Yes, ma'am. Yeah. Good evening, all. On behalf of Indigenous and Frontier Technology Research Center and Nutrition Society of India, Chennai chapter, I, Dr. Shobana, Assistant Professor, JBS College for Women, Chennai, take this opportunity to propose the vote of thanks to those who have directly and indirectly contributed to this webinar series on nutrition for the newborn and beyond. At the outset, I would like to thank our distinguished speakers of the second day of this webinar, Dr. Padmini Rajagopal and Dr. Jayashree Jayakrishnan, for making excellent and elaborative presentation on guidelines to start complementary feeding and golden hour and beyond. We thank you both for being with us this evening. It's been a great pleasure, ma'am. We're really enlightened with your precious knowledge shared. I thank both the resource persons for clearing all our doubts patiently. Thank you, ma'am. There are so many appreciation messages from many participants in the chat box for both the speakers as well as to the coordinators. I would like to thank Dr. Sundaram Sechatri, Secretary IFTRC Chennai, for his initiation and constant support rendered for the conduct of this webinar. My big and special thanks to the webinar coordinators, Dr. Sherifa Talha and Dr. Bhavani Inala, for their unflinching support and coordination. I would like to extend my sincere thanks to all the core committee members of NSI Chennai chapter and IFTRC Chennai for their moral and technical support. Once again, I want to state that we're all most grateful to both the speakers for making the session highly interesting and informative. Last but not least, my heartfelt thanks to all our participants for their active participation and cordial cooperation and make this event a successful one. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you once again, Dr.
Thank you again for giving us this opportunity.
So much. It was really